This factory manufactures hundreds of thousands of televisions and air conditioners a month. But now it's in the process of turning into a different kind of operation.
This one particular line can manufacture 3,000 phones in an 8-hour shift.
The Indian tech and appliances company Micromax is pivoting to smartphones because of politics.
Geopolitical situation, especially between China and US, it is a great opportunity for us.
The trade war between China and the US has pushed foreign tech companies to relocate part of their production outside of China. India wants to be their next best option. It has a large and cheap workforce, plus the government has been offering generous subsidies while also promising a more open regulatory regime. Before the trade war, India ranked third behind Vietnam and China when it came to the global production of mobile phones. But with increasing trade tensions, India is now in second place and starting to chip away at China's market share.
If China loses, India gains. There's no other country that has the infrastructure that we have and the manpower that we have. That's our biggest asset, and we're hoping to cash in on that.
India's plan to build a competitive smartphone supply chain to China's is a technical and logistical feat, putting to the test whether India can become the world's next smartphone superpower. India isn't starting from scratch. Sunil June is the head of products at Micromax and says the company has been making home appliances since 2000.
Assembling or manufacturing a display of a mobile phone and TV shares this similar technology and experience.
The first Android One phone from Micromax.
In the early years, the company was actually in the smartphone business, designing and putting them together in the country with roughly 90% of the components coming from China.
Can be furiously fast.
But Micromax's phone business collapsed once cheaper Chinese products flooded India. Now the company is dusting off their design skills and ramping up its manufacturing capabilities to get back in the game. June says a big technical challenge was the motherboard, which holds all the smartphone's key components.
Same setup, same machine, same tools. This is LED TV motherboard, whereas this is a set of 4 motherboards for mobile phone.
But the motherboard is just one of more than 700 components that go into a smartphone, and Micromax has had to convince other Indian companies to help produce those parts. For more than 2 decades, Pankaj Shakdeva has been producing batteries for electric fans, remote controls, and mobile phones.
This was actually a natural extension of what we were doing, because we were already in the battery business as traders.
His challenge was to create a battery that would power a smartphone for up to 2 days.
So now this is the finished product that you see here. It's kept at a high temperature for 72 hours to make sure that nothing goes wrong with the battery in a high temperature zone.
Shakdeva says he now wants to focus on smartphone batteries.
Going forward, smartphone is the future. So definitely we have to be ready for that market as well. We're hoping that this ecosystem can grow much better domestically, not just to cater to India, but to cater to the global market as well.
In just 6 months, Micromax proved that it could design and put together its own smartphone. It's now rolling out what it calls Made in India phones. This speedy buildup in India's smartphone production capacity has caught the attention of tech giants. Samsung closed all its manufacturing facilities in China by 2019 and opened one of its largest factories in India. Even Apple's supplier Foxconn is now producing iPhones in the country.
तो $5 trillion economy का dream भी.
The government is also adding an incentive to push tech companies to grow their business in the country. So it's offering to pay them up to 6% of the value of the additional mobile phones they sell each year.
This is a fairly new expansion that we have done. It took us 2 weeks to expand to this level.
Micromax claims that 60% of the value of its phone components are currently sourced from India. And with the government's help, the company expects to get to 100% in 3 years.
That is something which will still take some time, 5 to 10 years at least.
Varun Mishra is an analyst who's been watching the Indian smartphone industry since the start of the trade war. He doesn't think it's possible for a company like Micromax to source a majority of the components locally right now, because India's tech industry as a whole still has a long way to go.
The value added by the components which are sourced locally is at 12%. These components and these manufacturers, they require a very, very sophisticated infrastructure, a very, very, robust policy framework.
So while the country is able to produce simple components like battery chargers or the exterior of phones, it hasn't yet tackled the challenge of building a domestic and robust supply chain for more sophisticated technology, like LED screens or memory chips. And a majority of these components are still coming from China. Even the raw material that goes into the batteries produced in Shakdeva's factories.
They control the lithium supplies globally. That is where we don't have a choice but be dependent on them as of now. We're hoping that over the years we can change that.
And it already is. India has signed agreements with Australia and Bolivia to tap their large lithium reserves. But until India can fully peel away from Chinese suppliers, its smartphone ambitions are under threat. For example, a border dispute in the Himalayas between China and India during the summer sparked boycotts of Chinese products. Indian customs officials started to manually check tech components imported from China. That ended up stopping Micromax's production for months. And this shortage of parts came on top of the impact of the coronavirus pandemic.
COVID-19 has had a lot of impacts in the whole supply chain. The procurement of components became very, very difficult. The economy was hit a lot, especially unorganized economy like India. There was a lot of job losses.
So in order for India to achieve its goal of becoming the world's smartphone leader, it's going to have to deal with problems at home first.